Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again for those who were already here in the first part, are staying for the second part, and very warm welcome for those who have just entered the online part of our second session to the Sino-Dutch Forum on medical device regulation and investment. I'm very pleased to say that this workshop has been organized by the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Beijing, together with our colleagues from the Netherlands Foreign Investment Agency in Shanghai and our colleagues from the Economic Department at the Consulate General of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Shanghai. I'm extremely pleased to say that this particular workshop is supported by the China Association for Medical Device Industry, CAMDI, our dear friends at CAMDI, and the Beijing Medical Robotics Industry Innovation Center, IMC, who is sitting here in front of me. My dear friend Vicky, great to see you again. My name is Nico, Schiettekatte. I am the Counsellor for Health at the Embassy of the Kingdom in the Netherlands, representing the Ministry of Health, Welfare and Sport of the Ministry of Health, Welfare and Sport of the Netherlands in China. I am pleased to be your moderator today and to say some welcoming remarks. Earlier today, this afternoon, we had the opportunity on having various speakers laying out what the opportunities are for Chinese companies to establish in the Netherlands in this specific topic of medical devices. Now we are going to focus more on the possibility of companies from the Netherlands to establish in China or to do business with Chinese partners. Now, very briefly, it is our strong belief within the Ministry of Health in the Netherlands that medical devices can be used in different areas, in the area of prevention, diagnostics, surgery and rehabilitation. It has the objective to improve the quality of life and the comfort of patients. It can also ensure less invasive surgeries and facilitate home care, therefore enabling more independence of individuals. Finally, further automation and digitalization will certainly have a role as an accelerator of medical devices. Now, China is an extremely dynamic market and has a very rich ecosystem. For that, it is important to understand the Chinese market, to get profound insight in its dynamics, to know more about the regulatory situation and developments in China, how to become notified, and also to get some information on insurance and other financial schemes. I'm extremely pleased that we have an excellent lineup of speakers, panelists, and participants also from the Netherlands. Before giving the floor to our first speaker, let me quickly take you through the program. We have three speakers, and we have three panelists as well. They will present themselves in a later stage, and then we will have a Q&A together with our participants from the Netherlands. Now, some contributions, I believe, were made in Chinese, but there is translation in English that has been foreseen. If you have questions, either here offline or online, please, you can leave them in the chat room. They will be collected and grouped where necessary so that everybody can have the benefit of the questions of others. And also for us, time is relatively limited, so we will try to maybe, if there are a lot of questions, to group them a little bit, so give it more structured. To have everybody informed, this forum is being recorded and can be reviewed afterwards if you want to have a look at it again, or to share it with your colleagues, friends, partners who were not able to be here offline or online, but who would like to have a look at the workshop afterwards. Our team is also very much available both now physically after this workshop or through WeChat, email or whatever medium of communication. We will make sure that follow-up is provided in sharing information with you, in connecting you to network partners as well. Now, let us move to the speakers. I'm extremely pleased that we have three speakers, and I would like to have the first speaker coming up, who will tell us more about the development perspective of the medical development industry in China. Mr. Jiang Feng, can I ask you to come over and give your presentation, first introducing yourself and then giving your presentation. Please, welcome our first speaker.
Give me the chance to have a presentation here. I will not speak my innovative English, just speak Mandarin. Thank you very much. 谢谢大会邀请我。
Great thanks to the organizer for inviting me. It's my great honor to share my perspectives in the 15 minutes with you. I'm going to touch upon the development perspective of medical device industry in China.
How about the presentation? They told me totally 15 minutes time. Okay, so you have my slides. 那个 PPT 在哪里？
So where is the slide? Could you pull up the slide for me? According to the host requirement, I'm going to give you a brief introduction of myself. I actually worked in hospital for 12 years. I actually got MD in surgery and also got an MBA from Tsinghua University. Later, I joined Sino-Pharm for 12 years, and for the previous 2 years, I was mainly engaged in pharmaceuticals, and later, I worked as the general manager of the China Medical Device Company. After I left the company, I established the China Medical Association since 2003. I worked as the chairman, CEO of the Chinese Strategic Alliance of the Medical Device. So I'm quite familiar with this industry because I've been working in the association for almost 8 years. I actually personally have invested more than 30 projects for China's medical industry, medical device industry. I actually have many personal experiences, especially when it comes to the early stage investment. I sincerely hope that China's medical device industry can grow by themselves, can be innovative by themselves. We don't want to be the copiers of other companies, because with the establishment of the strong or great power of manufacturing, we need to rely on ourselves, not just to copy other countries or companies' products. So within the 50 minutes, I'm going to share with you about the development perspective of medical device industry. I know that we have online foreign audiences, so I hope that I can give you some information about medical device industry in China. Well, this is the general situation of MD manufacturers in China. In general, we have a large number of the manufacturers of the medical devices, but the quality is not so good. So we have huge room for the introduction of foreign medical device manufacturers. I hope that we still can enjoy 10 glorious years in terms of the medical device development. Right now, for the type 3 or category 3 products, we only had around 3,000 companies, but for those category 1 companies, we had more than 10,000, but less than 5,000 can manufacture high-quality products. And we have another new 8,000 manufacturers because they were born during the pandemic. Actually, I don't think they can survive for a long period of time because without very high-quality products, they cannot survive in the market for a long period of time. A good thing is that the average industry growth rate for the world is only 5 to 6%, but the number for China is around 10 to 15%. But sometimes it is not always necessarily a good thing. On the other hand, in terms of the industry data, here I just want to clarify a concept. So some people think that the total industry value is around 600 to 700 billion. Well, this is a number from Statistics Bureau, and only when a company that reach around 20 million, then we can do the calculation of them. If we include all the small-sized companies, then the industry value would exceed 1 trillion. So according to this chart, you can see that for those high-value medical device companies, they are mainly located in the Yangtze Delta and Pearl River Delta. And if we go beyond the Shandong province or even go to the north part, we see very limited number of those high-quality companies. For the healthcare industry, it has accounted for more than 18% of U.S. GDPs, while in China it is only around 6%. Therefore, for the healthcare industry development, we still have a long way to go. For the medical device industry, it is only 30 of that of the pharmaceutical industry. Among the 4 major segments, I think medical device industry has the highest potential. I communicated with a lawyer. We agreed that it is the easiest one to make profits in medical device industry, unlike pharmaceutical industry, which are very demanding in terms of the R&D. Actually, for the medical device industry, we are still in the preliminary stage. China has attached great importance to the IP now, but we're still doing renovation instead of innovation. We know Netherlands has Philips company. Actually, Philips company is the pilot company that we should learn, even though we cannot copy their science, but we need to learn the spirit of paying attention to innovation. For those big companies, sometimes they will purchase small companies, and so in foreign countries, the small-sized companies will be doing the innovation, while the large companies, they will do the industrialization. But this is not the case in China. For the small-sized companies in China, they need to survive by themselves, because for those big companies, they're actually competitors against each other. And for those big companies in China, they will try to hire their top talents and also to break them down. So for those big companies in the industry, they should be fulfilling their leader role. And for small and medium-sized companies, actually 80% of them cannot survive in the long run. Even though the industry is quite large, but we have many problems. For policy and regulations, I think they are very good, because in recent years, they are very supportive of the innovation. We rolled out many policies to streamline the reviewing processes and also have given preferences to those top companies to expedite the approval, and now they can also renew their foreign certificate in China, and also you can put those unmarketed products or medical devices in Boao of Hainan province to have some pilot or trial usage. At the same time, I welcome all of you to settle factories here and to train the local companies. I think the policy is very good because of the preferential policies. We have more and more importers. We've also seen faster growth of the local companies, but we are still lagging far behind innovation. For the COVID-19 impact, I think it is an opportunity but also a challenge. But it is not like what the media has said, that actually not all the companies made a huge profit. A very limited number or a large number of companies that they actually have been shut down. For those new companies, they can only sell their products for several months. Their lifespan is actually very short. For those emerging companies, not all companies can make money from the pandemic, which indicates that we are still poor in terms of the innovation and self-reliant innovation. And for the ventilators and breathing machines, emerging situations, foreign countries can purchase your ventilators or breathing machines, but once they are in stability, then they will no longer purchase your products. We have more than 400 companies who manufacture the masks or protective devices, but few of them could survive once the situation has been stabilized. I think the main issue is that we don't pay a lot of attention to innovation, and the translation rate from the innovative studies are not good enough. So the market is an open market, regardless how the government trying to promote procurement of the hospitals, but actually for 70 to 80% of those high-end medical devices, they are actually from foreign companies.
In the post-pandemic era, many capitals from other industries will also enter this sector. Innovations has been paid great attention to in U.S. and European countries. Then tests are quite expensive to do in overseas countries, and it waits too long. So it would be good to let Chinese and to let those projects being registered in China and putting more resources in China. We can have a coordination in projects, and intellectual property rights would be very well protected in China. We respect the rules for supervisions or regulations of medical devices all over the world, and we learn from the advanced regulation experience from the world, and also protect an IP rights in China. Therefore, we welcome more Holland products and Holland projects to come to China. And I am also learning from Netherlands and companies, and we hope our companies can grow to the scale of Philips as early as possible. Not only the scale, but also more investment in R&D. And finally, I want to share with you China Medical Device, a program for China Medical Devices Design and Entrepreneurship Competition. This is from the Ministry of Science and Technology in China, and we are one of the organizers. This year, it is the 4th session. For the previous 3 years, there were 1,000 projects that get involved, and there were 167 projects winning awards. And by our analysis, there were 4.2 billion RMB of funds raised after 6 months of the competition. So those projects work together with Chinese doctors, and governments have given a lot of support to these projects. We provide one-stop services, including patent service, animal tests, and clinical tests, as well as other aspects. We provide agents. We integrate the agents and the certificates and institutions. And there are 4 days for the competitions. And the previous competitions would carry out in for totally 6 months, 2 to 3 months for initial competitions, and this year there's a 4 days global device week, and in the device week and for the final competition. So we welcome Holland companies to bring your projects and to join us, and we provide subsidies for recommendation for accommodations and transportation, and this is what we can offer. So in the 15 minutes, I am share some sporadic and some scattered information. And in our industry, we hope more Netherlands companies can enter China, and we hope you can join us in the competition. We're waiting for you in the early September this year in Suzhou City. Please contact me if you need any information from me. So this is my WeChat. Medical Jiang is my WeChat ID. And no matter you are from Netherlands or you are from China, we're willing to provide service for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I had high expectations of your presentation, and I can assure you, you didn't disappoint me. So I'm very grateful for this excellent presentation. I think it gave exactly the development of the dynamics on the Chinese market. I liked very much also these clusters that you showed. It was extremely clear. I think that helps also the Dutch companies to position themselves. The comparison between different countries, I think, was very interesting as well. It's always good to have a comparative analysis. And the regulatory aspect, you also already touched upon it, and I'm sure that Dutch companies already have some questions or the audience here. I know that you are an extremely busy man and you have to leave to something else, but there have already come some questions in, and there's one particular, because one of the slides was extremely appealing, I thought it as well, and there's questions from companies. Can Dutch companies join this competition, and how should they do this?
Yes. All the companies, no matter domestic in China or in abroad, especially we have a sector special design for the project from abroad. Even the speaker cannot traveling to China, no problem. We have internet access for them. So if they cannot speak Chinese, we will have an interpreter. So all the teachers and the how to say that， 就是那个评委，英文怎么说？就是我们那个专家评审，我还真不知道这个词儿它是怎么说的哈。所有的那个experts review， you know， their English is better than me, and they are very very professional. Most of them is come from NFIA or a big company or the university or hospitals. So they can help you the project to get the money from China, and also they can help you to let your design become a real device.
And
And also animal test.
should they register it? Is there a way to register?
Yeah, just register from internet. we will give you the address. Okay. This one. The website CMDDEC. Yeah. .cn is the website of the competition.
Thank you very much again.
Thank you for your time.
Let's keep in touch. Thank you very much. That I think is an excellent bridge to our next speaker, who is going to give a little bit more guidance to companies in the Netherlands who are participating online, a roadmap for Dutch medical device products entering the Chinese market, a regulatory perspective. My dear friend Vicky, could you please come up and give your presentation after presenting yourself? Thank you very much.
Dear audience and expert, I'm very glad to give a presentation today. Today, I will talk about the roadmap for Dutch medical device products and entering Chinese market. It's my privilege, but also I feel quite nervous to speak after Mr. Jiang. There are three aspects in my presentation. First, the medical device and industry overview, which is mentioned quite a lot by Mr. Jiang previously. Secondly, challenges for imported medical device. Thirdly, roadmaps for entering the Chinese market. So we'll welcome you to discuss after my presentation. China is a country that medical device and industry develops very rapidly. We see a large increase in the number of enterprises. Enterprises distribute in Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei, Pearl River Delta in Guangdong Province and Yangtze River Delta in Jiangsu Province. There are over 90% of high-tech SMEs who are strong in product development and innovation. However, they are lacking of experience in building production environment and quality system, while Beijing leads the country in a number of high-end medical device registration with active and innovative products. Medical device industry in China has a very large market, and China has a huge potential for medical device market. Overall speaking, there are quite many pain points and as well huge investment and intensive technology and high aggregation of innovative factors. How can we help companies from R&D and production, sales, and also being listed in the reimbursement list, as well as being chosen by hospitals? We have spent a lot of time to grow together with companies. Now, I would like to share with you challenges for imported medical device. In the post-pandemic era, and also the global trade environment, and there are some major challenges. What's different from Netherlands is that government procurement in public medical institution is dominant. In China, there are more than 9.8 million of public hospitals, but only there are 985 public medical institutions. However, only 22,000 private ones. According to the guidance of the General Office of State Council on promoting the health development of the pharmaceutical industry, and domestic products would be the preferred choices. 29 provinces, cities, and autonomous regions clearly proposed to strictly limit the import of medical devices. In in Guangdong Province and Provincial Health Commission, we've seen reductions on the number of imported medical devices from 132 to 46. And since 2014, National Health Council has carried out 6 sessions. Majority of the domestic products that can replace replace the imported medical devices. Only a few of them requires import. Under such a backdrop, China would strictly control the approval and supervision of imported medical device, and the policies that would encourage the localization of imported medical device, just like the regulation recently. Last year, the document 104 encouraged a localization of imported medical device. Now, let me analyze the roadmap for entering the Chinese market.
So I want to share with you about the MAH, which is a new one in China. I think you already knew this in the foreign countries. In the past, we have the separation of the two, but in the past, we need to have the two together. So if you do registration, you need to produce by yourself. You need to set up the factory by yourselves. I guess this scenario, for those innovative companies, if they don't have the adequate funding or capabilities, they cannot register their products. But when we have the MH, we can use the CDMO to do the entrusted manufacturing, so that we can reduce the total cost for the old models. For those old models, they need to do the leasing, and they have to have their factories vacant for a long period of time. Against the MH, they can just do the cost charging by hour, etc. And for CDMO, they can also offer them the staff. For foreign companies, they can minimize their staff number. They don't need to have a large employment in China. So especially when they're in the R&D phase, for compliance, they will also be entrusted to an institution to do this, so that we can increase the utilization efficiency for the company and reduce the vacancy of the factories. Take category 2 medical device, for example. We do the comprehensive cost calculation. If we use the old model, the total cost will be around 2 million euro. But for the new model, we just need a quarter of the total cost. I just want to share with you about the first pathway. First is the agency registration. For example, if the company is an innovative Dutch company who did the R&D in overseas countries, and then the company got CE or FDA certificate, and the company can ask the Chinese company to get the MH certificate, but the duration will be quite long, but there are also risks. Firstly, the agency would be binded with all these certificates. If you want to unbound with the original agency, then it's very difficult, because the majority of those rights will be within the agency instead of the company. Secondly, for the sales distribution channels, if they have maloperation, would have the goodwill risk. For example, for GSK scandal, so they do have the operation risk. Thirdly, is the agencies, they would have the reverse engineering for those risks. If the subsidiary company holds the certificate, this will not happen. So that's the first pathway that you can get into China's market. The second model is SKD, semi-knockdown model. So they do the R&D in overseas countries with the certificate of CE and FDA, and then they come to China to set up the factory. Then this is the semi-knockdown pathway. It is also a very good modality, but the cost is extremely high. Only those top big medical device companies such as the Philippines, they can do this. And in China, they're gonna recruit a whole team to do the follow-up practices. For local market, if they are not familiar with the local regulations or tax policies, they're gonna have a huge risk. But the construction period is quite long than the previous pathway. Third pathway is CDMO-based MAH, which means that we have an overseas entity that set up a China entity in China. We have a CDMO institution to do the manufacturing. Then they can get the NFIA certificate. Then they can enter into China's market. And also in China, because China's market is recovering to a very large extent, they can also do OEM, ODM manufacturing. They can sell out to other countries to get their CE FDA certificate. But for the third model, it also has its own risks and challenges. Firstly, the duration is slightly longer than the previous models. Secondly, because of the obligations and rights issues, sometimes they still need time to have a full understanding of the local regulations. So this is the potential risk. Well, this is the comparison of the current three roadmaps. First is the agency registration. They would have the import registration certificate. For the second and third roadmaps, they would have the domestic registration certificate. The second modality would take the longest time. For the third and the third one, the first and the third modality, the cost would be comparatively low, but for the risk of the first modality is quite high because strategically speaking, it is not so optimistic. Therefore, comprehensively speaking, you can make your own choice based on the funding of your company as well as the capabilities of your company. At the same time, we also have done the calculations of the cost for those non-clinical products. The certification duration is around 1 to 2 years. For the agency registration, SKD is 2 to 3 years. CDMO is 1 to 2 years. The cost is also different. The agency registration is only 70 to 90,000. For SKD is 0.8 to 1.3 million. For CDMO, it is around 150 to 250,000. For high-end medical devices, they will have higher cost with longer durations. But currently, in China, for the innovative companies, they are actually making progresses. We hope that those foreign medical device companies can also enter into China. And for our center, we have a CDMO factory, which will be open this year because we begin our business in the medical robotics, and for the Category 2, Category 3 active medical devices, we're going to have the whole life cycle management. No matter it is from the beginning registration to interest in the manufacturing to pilot production to volume production, we will offer services throughout the cycle. For different companies, you can check this out based on your own status, whether it is a new company or a developing company or a mature company. We offer all kinds of the services. So we're actually not a company, but also a consultation or even a platform to serve all the medical device companies we welcome all those innovative Dutch medical device companies to join us to explore China's market. For the advantages of IMC CDMO, once you in the China's market, we can offer you the best service because we know the market very well, and we can reduce the risk to the maximum extent. In addition to the academic expert, we can also offer you the matching of the clinical resources because we've been in the industry for 16 years. At the same time, for the innovative medical devices, we have much and a lot of experience, and we're confident to tell you that we can solve all the possible issues that you may encounter during the access to China's market. We will not do reverse engineering. We are there to protect IP because we are the innovation center. That's our top priority. For the operation cost, we have the reduction with our service. To give you one example, for the MCCDMO, if you use multidimensional intellectual property protection system, if you introduce the high-end medical device into China, they do have their unique room. When necessary, we can do procurement from the specified vendors, so we can mitigate the concerns they have. At the same time, they can offer us the engineering drawing instead of the schematic drawing. If they are willing, we can also join hands together to build innovative devices covering from the initial R&D to the finished product R&D. We also have very strict penalties upon the infringement of the IP rights. At the same time, we would use the ISO IEC 27001 Information Security Management to guide our security. Just like I mentioned, our name is Beijing Medical Robotics Industry Innovation Center, which was established in 2017 by Beijing Municipal Government, Tianzhihang, together with Beijing Tsinghua University. We had abundant academic resources such as Tsinghua University, Peking University, as well as other many important other universities had cooperations with us. We also have finished a successful translation of those studies to finished products. We also set up good partnerships with the 301 or Schiettekatte Hospital in Beijing. Just like Chairman of the Medical Device Association mentioned that we had profound communications with them. We do have funding support which can invest in the innovative enterprises. We can offer them all kinds of resources, including funding materials. So this is our advantage because we pay attention to the whole life cycle management. I want to say thank you to the organizer again for offering this opportunity to brief you on the market access to China. If you are willing to establish partnership with us, you are more than welcome to check out at our exhibition booth at 308. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vicky, for this excellent comparative analysis. I saw some of the participants here making pictures of the presentation, and I understand it very well. I would have liked to take a picture of every slide as well. That is not necessary because Vicky has agreed that we can share the presentation also to the participants online in the Netherlands. I think it really gives a very clear overview. Thank you so much. Maybe to have the opportunity that you are here next to me, I think there was one very specific question when I was looking at Roadmap 1 and Roadmap 2, especially for the CDMO. It was 1 or 2 years. Would you say that the CMO is faster or not?
Actually, compared to like let's go back to this. You are asking this one, right?
Yeah.
Actually, it's a little bit slightly slower than agency registration but this one you get an import registration certificate. For this one you get a domestic registration certificate. That's the difference. But it's almost the same. But this one is a little bit slower than this one.
Thank you very much. Very clear. And one question that I expected somewhat was on when you mentioned the encouraging of localized production. With the policy that comes with it, would you say that would facilitate Tier 1 and Tier 2 suppliers, especially in the high tech?
Yeah, and actually, like we think high tech is a. We can't say that, but but it's true, you know, because in China we need more innovative products, and if you can, how say, you can if you are innovative, like we are allowed to use you and give you like some shorten, you know, terms of. Investigation or something, but and also like you can use it in Hainan in some area if you are very innovative. But if it's normal one, it's a little bit harder. But we don't say no, and we accept all the kind of things.
Excellent. Thank you very much. A big applause for Vicky Li again for excellent presentation. Thank you so much. I think you provided us with a bridge again to the third presentation on general procedures, talking about localized production and policies. The general procedure setting up legal entity in China. Can I ask Ms. Xiaoyi Liu to come up and briefly present herself and give her presentation? Thank you very much. A big applause.
Okay, thank you very much for invitation by the Embassy of the Netherlands. And I'm very happy to be here. And today I'm going to talk about the ABCs, the key elements about entering into China as a high-tech company in the medical device. And first, let me introduce myself. I come from DeHeng Law Offices. DeHeng is a law firm. Actually, we have the national offices throughout China, more than 30 offices, and we are headquartered in Beijing, and we also have several other overseas offices in Europe and also in America. So our networking allows us to have the global vision and the local focus. So we hope we can provide the very professional, efficient, and practical legal advice to you, and we hope we can also provide the total solution, the one-stop solution, while we're working together with other advisors, agencies, finance advisors, and so that the company will be much easier to enter into China, to do business here in China. And for me, myself, actually I started my legal career in 2001, immediately after I graduated from the law school, and my focus actually focused on the foreign direct investment, also about the corporate governance and compliance. Dispute resolution is always my personal interest, and I do always want to be a litigator, but I did a lot of work relating to the non-litigation, and also I have a lot of experience in the labor area, labor and employment. I focus on provide labor advice on, for example, how you have your employment strategy here. And recently we heard a lot of, how to say, lay off something. That's kind of negative. But when you come to a termination of employment, I will also provide advice both to the companies and to the individuals, especially the senior management. And my focused area actually is the life science and healthcare. I focus myself in this specific area for one very specific reason, because I previously worked with Johnson & Johnson Medical China, and I served as the senior counsel to support its orthopedics and neuro business in China. I'm very proud that I accomplished the integration of Depew Synthesis China. This was previously the biggest merge case in Johnson & Johnson. So I'm very proud of myself. Through all those work, I got in-depth, understanding of the business, especially this industry. So today, I would be, bring my previous practice experience and also bring my insight of the industry as well as the business operation in China to you. I hope you will find this information. This lecture will be informative and helpful. And here is a quick table of contents, and you will see that, I will give you a legislation framework so that you could have a high-level understanding what laws are governing your doing business in China. And also I will touch a little bit about the policy environment, because this area is highly regulated. It's similar like in many other countries. However, the key thing is here we are also significantly impacted by the policy change. And we all know that China is experiencing the healthcare reform and in the past 10 years. So we have some achievements, and also we have some learnings for foreign companies, foreign investors. You should not be too concerned about this. So if you are, like for example, we have the embassy of Netherlands in China. They will be the window to introduce what's happening in China. There will always be a heads up. And if you are familiar with what's happening here, you will plan in advance and you will do your business healthy. And also I will give you a quick introduction about how you set up a movie here. To some people it looks like a procedural matter, but to me I would say that there are several key elements you need to consider. It's not only from the business perspective, it's also from, how to do this efficiently, both time and cost efficient. And also we will mention some special license and permits that is required to do business here. You need, I frequently heard that, IP protection and also, optimize the business environment here. Those, and MAH policy, MAH mechanism here in China, and I will give you very quick introduction about that. So now let's come to the legislation part. Actually, I only listed several here, but all these took effect, or will immediately come effect from January the 1st last year. Last year, actually, you may call it the pandemic year. It's quite challenging to everyone, and to lawyers, we are also facing a lot of changes in the legislation area. We are quickly study all of those changes. And the list from the number 1 to number 7 are mainly actually relating to the foreign investment law. You may have heard of that. Foreign investment law of the PRC took effect last year, and it will have a 5-year transition period for existing foreign companies in China. So you know this, but you will also know that there are a lot of, ancillary policies, regulations come together with this. The PRC, we also have the implementation rules, and also the Supreme Court issued the judicial interpretation to explain, when there comes a dispute regarding, for example, the shareholder agreement, how you resolve this matter, give you a very quick guidance about that. And also, you will note that number 6 and number 7 are two lists. These lists are very important because for the negative list, if you are not in the negative list, then you can be treated as, you can enjoy the citizen treatment like other domestic companies. However, if you are in the negative list, then you have to pay attention because this industry might be restricted or might be prohibited for foreign investors. So when you plan your business, you have to understand what you are going to do. Like for example, I give you a quick example. 那个人体干细胞的这个开发。
The development and application of a stem cell of a human being.
Application of human stem cell is prohibited, and also it is prohibited for gene diagnosis and treatment technology. So technology as technology is prohibited. However, if you look into the the encouraged list, number 7, you will see that there are 这个叫细胞治疗药物 is cell therapy. The drug on cell therapy is encouraged. So what's the difference? One is prohibited and one is encouraged. People are always confused for this. You need to look into this so that you will see when you do business here and when some like overseas Chinese-based scientists, when they start their business in China, you need to take care of this. And also, I want to mention that number 8 is about the civil code. Why we say the civil code is so important? It came into effect this year. This is the first law that is named as code, 民法典, named as a code. So it is actually a combination, a lot of previous laws and regulations, and civil code and the company law and its several judicial interpretations. All these together will govern your investment in China. And the last one, actually, I think a lot of you have heard of this. It is the latest, the regulation on the supervision and administration of medical devices. We also call it a medical device regulation. This is newly revised and newly announced this year, will immediately come into effect June the 1st this year. So it will come into effect very shortly. And why I mention this? Because this is the most important regulation in the medical device area. And you have heard the innovation. Yes, this law delivers the most strong signal on how to encourage innovation. For example, the expert review of registration and the testing requirement, a lot of those things. If you can fall under the green track or the fast track to register your product here in China. And also you will note that there is a MAH mechanism. MAH, you have been very familiar with that, and it is called market authorization holder, and it is the specific name in the regulation. Actually, is the registrant or record filing parties of a specific medical device. So this is a little bit different in the pharmaceutical law. It's a little bit different, but the principles are the same. So that requires the MH shall be responsible for the whole life cycle of a medical product, from the very beginning of R&D, manufacturing, distribution, and clinical use. So you need to pay attention to this. Even if you can do the OEM, authorize other parties to manufacture, you can sell your product through your distributors. Keep in mind that as a MAH, as a market authorization holder, you need to be responsible for the safety, for the effectiveness of this product for its whole life. That's very important for us to understand this. And your agent in China usually is a subsidiary that you registered in China, will be assisting you to fulfill its obligations. For example, to establish a profound quality control system and to be responsible for the, after launch monitoring, adverse event monitoring, recall, product tracing, a lot of those things you need to take care of, either by yourself or by your agent. But you have the legal liability. And I want to mention that in the new MDR, medical device regulation, individual liability, you need to pay attention to that. If you are people in charge of this company, or if you are people directly responsible for certain matters, then you will have individual personal responsibility for violation of this law. So when we're talking about this, you say, oh, it's so restrict. Yes, it's restrict, but it's the same rule for all market player in China. So it also gives those foreign companies a good opportunity to play fairly, right? So it's good. It's good from our side. And now let's quickly see how we can set up a WUFI. What is a WUFI? WUFI usually is a wholly owned foreign enterprise, and it's established and capitalized by foreign investors. And it is actually a very common. It is actually a very common form to enter into China, and you will have the limited liability as company laws in many other countries. That is, your liability is limited to subscribed capitals of the WUFI. And you will see that WUFI is commonly used when you do business. For example, you are doing the consulting business, you are setting up an R&D center, or you do manufacturing, or you do trading, or other services. You can use the form of WUFI. Here is a quick procedure to set up a WUFI. You need to prepare the incorporation documents and the materials, and then you need to apply the business license and make the company COs, open bank accounts, do tax registration, all of those things. And these things usually would take 1 month or 2 months, maybe. Depends on how ready you are for preparing the documents. So after all the application documents are ready, it will take you 1 to 2 months to finish the company registration for setup. And then the last 2 additional procedures, for example, apply for import and export licenses, and apply for other special licenses, for example, for licenses of the medical device product, and for licenses to conduct business operation of medical devices. It will take additional time, and you need to plan in advance and prepare in advance, and also to engage professionals to do professional things so that to save your time and cost. Here are some practical things to consider. I always see that foreigners are confused about, when I'm going to set up a company in China, what should I do? How many documents should I prepare? They might receive a very complicated document list from their advisors. So here, I sort out some key elements for you to consider in advance. Who will be the shareholder? And also, company name is important. It's very important because you are doing in China, in China, so you need to register your company name in Chinese. If you have any preferred company name, you need to prepare it well. Otherwise, it will take you a long time to go through this procedure for pre-registration of the company name. And also the address of the company. Why is it important? Why? Because you need to have a registered address to carry out business. This is one thing. And secondly, you need to know that in China, in different locations, we have local incentives. So you need to understand, for example, Boao, Hainan, Boao in Hainan province is frequently mentioned today. Yeah, it's encouraged. However, you need to understand whether the local area, local market has the ecosystem that you need for doing business. And also, if you can enjoy the local incentives, what kind of incentives can you enjoy? This may be discussed on a case-by-case basis. And also the business scope is very important. You need to make it legally feasible to allow you to do more in the future. So this is important, need to be well designed. And a lot of other things, for example, the capital injection schedule, and also the corporate governance, like the board of directors, or you just only need one executive director. Those things are quite similar as in other countries. And you also need to have a legal representative, a general manager, and a person in charge of finance. The legal representative could be either the chairman of the board or the general manager. That's all. And for environment impact, you need to pay attention if you want to establish a manufacturing company in China. That's very important. Now, if you are considering a joint venture, why we need to have joint venture? Sometimes it's a must because in some restricted areas, you need to set up a joint venture, and you need to find a capable and trusted Chinese partner to do business here. And it has some advantages. For example, Chinese partners is quite familiar with local policies, especially the local environment, the local culture for doing business. And they also have some kind of resources, established resources that you can take advantage of. Yes, of course, it has some disadvantages. For example, you will have a more comprehensive decision-making process. When you are divorcing, like in the future, depart from each other, it will be much complicated. So this is, we are not going to touch this point. And then we come to the special licenses and permits. Here I listed the major licenses required for carrying out medical device business in China. You will know that both the product and the company need to be licensed or permitted. And we have the three categories of medical device product, and the category 3 is the most highest, has the most highest risk in the regulation. So here, for example, if you are doing business for category 3, then you need to get the product registered, have the registration certificate for it. If it's only category 1, no need for registration, just a record filing is enough. However, if you are going to carry out the manufacturing business, then you need to get the license or something. So you can directly refer to the table. And some other licenses, for example, the import and export related licenses here we listed. And we would recommend you to get this licenses registered because it's not that complicated, and it will give you the flexibility to directly import the products from your country. And there are some other licenses. For example, if you are doing business relating to the 有一种特殊医学用途配方食品 food for special medical purpose. It's not a food, it's not a drug, and it's in between, but it still need to be registered, and you need to get the license for that. Here, because category 3 is the most highly regulated product in China, so here I set out some basic requirements for your attention when you apply for the operation license for category 3. Please note that you need to have the business license and plus the business operation license to do this. And also, you need to note that product registration certificates need to be ready before you apply for the operation license. And there are some other requirements, and which mainly relates to the quality control. The quality control personnel, the system, the IT system, for product tracing purpose. So here we also come to the trademarks and patents, because it's really important for your IP protection in China. And both trademarks and patents need to be registered locally to protect your product, protect your service in China. And we believe that it will be a strategic and long-term move for foreigners to register your trademarks in China. Please note that labeling is a part of the quality requirement. So if you do not register the trademark, then you cannot indicate in the Chinese label that this is a trademark registered product. And here is the procedure for registration. And for this procedure, usually you need to have the trademark search in advance, and then you prepare the documents. After all the documents are ready and are accepted by the government authority, then it will take around 1 year to finish, to obtain the trademark registration. And here is the patent application through the PCT route, the Patent Cooperation Treaty. This is a very, technical and professional area, and I'm not an IP lawyer, and I would recommend you to seek advice from your IP consultant to get it done. But this is a really efficient way to register your IP, the patent in China. And I do understand that, for example, in the trauma business, there are so many product codes, and the registration of patent will be very, very time and cost And then you will need to evaluate, what's the key part you need to be registered. And you need to have a strategy, whether and how you will protect your know-how. And this is, and lastly, we'll see that for foreigners, expatriates working in China, you need to obtain the work permit, work visa, and the residence permit. And these things are procedure related, however, is mandatory requirement. So ask for the help from your human resource partner or from a lawyer. And finally, here is my disclaimer. We have some introductions, but you cannot use it as legal advice. And if you have any further questions, I'm very glad you can send email to me and we can discuss offline. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this excellent overview. Can this presentation also be shared with this disclaimer?
Yes, of course.
Because I think it was really an excellent overview on which we could spend half a day, I think, to really get into in-depth. But I think it gave a very good overview. As usual, it looks complex, but with experts like you, it seems that it's feasible. You can find a way with good expertise, with good advice on various areas to do business in and with China. So thank you very much for this presentation. You will stay with us?
I will stay with you.
You will stay with us. So I propose that the further questions, we will take them throughout the Q&A. I would now like to have the panelists, thank you very much. And I'd like to have the panelists, we're running a little bit out of time. But I'd like to ask forward Helen Yang, George Li, and Vivian Zhang to join us for the panel discussion. Thank you so much for joining us in the panel discussion. There were some questions that came in through the chat box. I think there were some questions that could possibly be answered also by the panelists here. Some technical questions. Also to all our participants online. Obviously, we will connect to the speakers speakers and the panelists, if we don't have sufficient time, which we will not have probably, to answer all the questions either today during this workshop, or I can imagine after the workshop that there are still some questions that remain, and I'm sure that we will be able to reach out to our experts here in the panel or to our speakers to help you out to get the information. Now we have very distinguished panelists here, Helen Yang from Fosun, George Li from Proxima Venture, and Vivian Zhang from China Renaissance Group, who have sorry for that, specific expertise on various of the items that were already highlighted during the presentations. Maybe to get quickly, as we're running a little bit out of time, as I said, getting in depth on the subjects, or various subjects. I have some questions myself. The idea is, well, I will raise one question that I was noting through the presentations. I will ask one person first to give a reply, but of course all the panelists are invited to react to the other panelists, to have an interaction, and we will take the questions from the audience here or from the participants online to have a debate together. So now maybe to kick off, I was just wondering, when I saw all these presentations coming by and having invested myself in this subject of medical devices, regulations and investments, the burning question that I have is which areas are really strategic for investors, and in which would they really be interested in? Would that be robotics? Would it be imaging equipment? Any other really strategic areas that investors in China are interested in, if the Netherlands could provide that? Now, maybe Vivienne, is that a question that you could take first?
Yeah, it's my honor to be the first one to answer a question. So just a brief introduction to myself. I'm Vivian from China Renaissance. We are a local Chinese investment bank, and actually Sunny was my former colleague in J&J. So, and Helen and George, we are both like cyber friends on WeChat. It's very glad to have this chance to, yes, a big family here. So we are friends. So this is like a friends talk. We can be very casual. So you asked about our focus of area. So before China Renaissance, I worked for Johnson & Johnson and Medtronic. So you know that it's all about medical device and surgical, orthopedics, all kinds of equipments and consumables. So more specifically, what we're looking for, I think in the past people were looking to more like implants, consumables, but nowadays in the recent 2 years, I think Chinese investors are more and more pay attention to equipments, to more like integrations, more advanced technologies. Even those ones are not proven yet overseas. I think George will have the best to say on this topic. So in the past, actually many of my clients, so yeah, to specify that, as an investment banker, we represent the best interests of Chinese startup entrepreneurs to raise money in the capital markets, both debt and equity. In the past, I also had a chance to talk to companies from Israel, from Europe, and from United States, but unfortunately, not many deals are done efficiently. I think we really need to match the expectation from both parties. George has done lots of overseas investments, so I think, yeah, maybe you are the right person to answer this question. I'll give it to you.
Thank you. I'm George Li. I'm the founding partner of Proxima. So Proxima is a venture capital firm. I think we found the unique way to invest into the global innovation. So we have the internal research team looking and tracking the global innovation. And in fact, we have two colleagues from Philips. So we know, Philips has a lot of innovation mechanism. So we follow that kind of, mechanism looking for the global innovation. And but we also do we build the unique ecosystem in China. So it's not the traditional VC. So we also do the early stage incubation, acceleration. So we are running 5 medical device accelerator incubator in cities of Suzhou, Wuhan, Zhengzhou, Chengdu, and Chongqing. So that kind of ecosystem give our portfolio company good access to the local hospital, and we're working closely with the KOL. So, regarding the areas we focus, we focus on the medical device, and we are looking for the disruptive technology which can address unmet medical needs, especially in the cardiovascular, and we have some project we co-worked, and also I think that's a big market, and also ophthalmology is also a big market. So we have invested company in US, Clario, and also another very innovative drug delivery company. Ophthalmology I think is a big market in China. Of course, our fund also heavily invested into the diagnostic. Myself, I have the IVD startup experience. So I went through the company from the seed, angel, and A/B round, and basically brought the technology from US and launched and built the manufacturing in China. So 4 years we launched the product. So I think that's kind of global resources or global thinking. We should think about it, especially in the COVID situation. I think later on Fusen can talk about this. I think this presents a very unique opportunity. First, China, I think now is the golden age for medical device. We have the aging population, and we have the new regulatory, policy favorable for the, innovative medical device, and also now capital market. Now, I think Fusen can talk about this, and you can talk about this too. Now we have the new listing requirement. So basically, for medical device and biotech, innovative sort of category and pre-revenue company or pre-profit company can be listed. I think that dramatically changed the landscape for investment. Now a lot of capital in China looking for the innovative solution. So I think this is a great opportunity. And another way is I think the COVID things present I think good opportunity to think about the China opportunity. We have invested company in Israel, and so it's very difficult for them to recruit the patient now, but we are helping them to recruit, open the new clinical site in China. So I think that's sort of parallel strategy for foreign companies to consider. If you have good partner, you can launch things in parallel, instead of traditional US, CE, but now you can think about China if you are a good partner. So I think I will stop here.
Thank you very much, George. The questions keep on coming in. We'll take one of these that questions that came in. I think I will give that question to Helen. Talking what George has mentioned about strategic partners. Now, what is your perspective on choosing the right strategic partners?
So first of all, let me give you a brief introduction about myself and my company. So I'm Helen Yang, and working as the Chief Investment Officer of Fosun Pharma Medical Device Division. So Fosun Pharma actually it's a local company in China, but it's very globalized. It's a listed company in both Shanghai and Hong Kong Stock Exchange. During the past 13 years, Fosun Pharma has dedicated itself in creating the full value chain in the healthcare sector, ranging from pharmaceutical to medtech and to medical service. So as for my department, there are 9 portfolio companies with diversified business, including medical robotics, medical aesthetics, dental, and respiratory ventilation systems. And we also have a pre-hospital and emergency care department. So based on our strategic perspective, I think what we focus has synergy with our current business, like just I mentioned. But besides this, I think there is a lot of unmet needs from the patient. So I think innovation, treatment, procedure will lead to a lot of invention of innovative medical device. So we will focus on the new procedure. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Some other questions that came in. and maybe I'll go back to Vivian, but I think it's valid for all the panelists, so really giving a little bit more your insights, if you could share them with us, on really what, in your view, are the critical success factors for Dutch companies, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, to be successful on the Chinese market. And would there be a particular stage? Would it be the preclinical or the clinical stage? Is it very important to be approved in the European Union already, in the US, a combination? All these questions. Vivian, I'm sure you have an opinion about that.
Thank you. Yes, I do have a lot to share. Since in the past, actually, I have received so many foreigner CEOs coming up to me talking about, I have seen my Chinese counterpart with similar products, similar stage, but the value is 3 times more of my valuation. So can I get more money here? Because you Chinese get so much money flow in the markets, both from the government, from the high net worth individual, but I tried very hard to convince them that it's not the case. Maybe 5 or 10 years ago, when the first batch of Chinese investors went abroad for investment on those high-tech technologies, we don't have so much deep understanding of the value of the technology and the valuation system. So by the time we paid our tuition fee, and now lesson learned, and investors in China are much more sophisticated and smarter, and they know exactly how the valuation system are different overseas, and more importantly, they will look at this, I would say, purely 100% from a strategic point of view. So don't expect to have really stupid or easy money from Chinese financial investors. I believe all Chinese investors do this investment out of strategic perspective, no matter it's like Fosun from the industry point of view, or financial institutional investor like George. Yeah, so maybe you can see it as a financial investment, but actually it all come out of your strategy, right? You know what kind of technology platform you're looking to, how to synergize with other portfolios, and what kind of IP or assets you're looking for. So totally behind those interests, I think the small and medium company and entrepreneurs, they need to look into the technology and the market, whether it's feasible in Chinese market, and how to compare them, how advanced they are comparing to Chinese counterparts, and what they can do as a trade-off, because it's always a win-win. It's not a zero-sum game. You have to give up something. Either it's your IP, your technology, your manufacturing, your know-how of the whole process, but you have to do those kind of calculation to see can you afford this kind of trade-off. So I think that's something I want to mention as the first point, to make it realistic. So do your homework and know your industry and know your Chinese counterparts and know the value of your technology. I think that's the first. And secondly, to stress that what to give and what to take. So that's my point of view. I still want to open it to George, because you have done so many investments.
Yeah, thank you, Im, for the sharing her experience. So we found 3 ways to invest into global innovation. So first, we have USD fund, so we do the cross-border investment. What we are looking for is kind of disruptive technology and sort of a platform technology, and which can address big market unmet needs. So that's one criteria. But we also wanted to be the value-added investor. So we are finding ways to help our portfolio companies try to leverage our connection or resources in China, so to be sort of helpful to those companies. And second, we can help our we help companies to set up the joint venture in China. And in fact, we have worked on a case last year. It's a German team, and it's life supporting system. So they finish their research, so it's kind of, semi-finished product. And we help them to build the whole China team, operation team. We recruit people from Medtronic, Sorin, GE, so basically, build the whole China team. So in that case, because we think this is great, because China, has highly demanded for the mobile ECMO system. So we put probably 40 million RMB to the company, and a very early stage. So we built the company together with the team from Germany. And so that's another way to help companies, even small, medium-sized companies, we can be helpful. And the third way, of course, there's a lot of overseas Chinese, and we found ways, to invest in them and also help them to come back. And we have the ecosystem I mentioned. So basically, we're working closely with the KOL, and we can expedite the clinical trial process. So I think our portfolio company, we have invested 36 plus company. I think probably, 6 of them, are funded by the doctors and KOLs. So, also we work closely with KOLs in cardiovascular, respiratory, GI, oncology. So I think that's kind of, resources the small, medium-sized company can tap into. So basically, my advice for companies in Dutch, first of all, find the right partners. I think here, I think we have the right people here. Second, of course, to be open-minded. I think now China presents very good market opportunity. It probably will be the largest medical device market. So especially, ophthalmology, myopia, I think that's the #1 market in the world, and also cardiovascular oncology. So I think those kind of factors, companies can thinking how to leverage or how to find the right partners to access and leverage those kind of resources. So that would be very helpful for companies. So, and I think third one is also, relationship build up. So I think, my advice is come to China and you will be surprised.
Thank you very much. I think this is a question that we got that I will give to Helen regarding the diagnosis of products already registered in the EU. Is it absolutely required to obtain an NFIA approval before it can be used for IVD in China? There's something, probably you have a view on that.
I think that the answer is definitely yes. Yes, that's for sure. So, because we have different, review pathway, a little diversified with the European Union. So you have to adopt our NFIA pathway. So the answer is yes.
That's very clear. Helen, and I think I will stay with you. How do you see the new medical device law of June the 1st influence the market? And then I think it's a relevant question for all the panelists. How do you see the new medical device regulation influence the medical device market in China?
I think it's, we have a green channel pathway for the innovative medical device submission, so it will shorten the time for the approval. That is from the patient side, they are able to use the innovative devices as early as possible. And for the startup companies, I think realistic speaking, the company value can be increased much faster. If they have the innovative medical device that can be approved for the green channel, so the valuation can be very high. So maybe George has more.
I think Vicky mentioned 3 pathways, for foreign companies, especially, approved product can come to China, and for the unapproved product, I think there are also the ways, come to China, and, you can set up the JV, and as Helen mentioned, now if you set up the JV and, somehow, leverage the manufacturing capability and also the capital here, you can be classified as an innovative medical device domestically, and that will significantly speed speed up the process to get approval. And we also have this kind of comparison. So for especially class 3, device, need the clinical trial, is much shorter in China, to recruit the patient. And also in terms of the clinical trial process, if you are working with the right KOL and working with the leading hospitals, and our experience, it will be also very fast. So I think that present very interesting alternative solution for companies, to consider, how to use this kind of new policy, to get product launched in China compared with the traditional, CE and then FDA and then China. Because a lot of companies haven't went through that process, already being acquired. So, China for them is just, paper money. But now, think about it. If you're working with right partner like us and the people here, and you may get something already approved by the time, the company reached the merger and acquisition point. Right now, China, you have, real business. And also now China has the new listing requirement. So for companies, before, you have to be profitable company in order to list it. Now we have company, can from zero to IPO within 2.5 years. That's for the ophthalmology sector. For medical device, I think probably, 4 to 5 years is also achievable. So, this is present very interesting opportunity, I think, for companies. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I totally agree. So there's 3 ways you can see. The lightest one, licensing it out. Just license out your Great China rights to a Chinese partner. So that's the easiest one. And secondly, you can do joint venture. So which requires you, like, maybe you will not be the control party, but your Chinese partner will definitely invest the human capital and money and maybe land and building lots of heavy capital into this project. And third one, maybe some of the entrepreneurs will think about that, is merger acquisition. So no longer being the control party of your business, but actually your technology can definitely outreach to our huge population here in China market. So that's totally different from your concept in just staying Dutch, right? Good products, they need to go to people and to expand in this globe. So this reminds me of a case I have done 2 years ago, which is we play an advisor role for Novocure, which is a NASDAQ listed company, formed partnership with Zylab, which is a Chinese biomedical biopharma innovative company here. So I was there when the chairman, Bill Doyle, talked to potential partners, such as Samantha. I was there, witnessed the whole process. And that was truly a very breakthrough deal in China market, in the medical device area. Of course, that technology was born in Israel, and they brought this technology to US and got listed. But no Chinese ever worked for this company, and they're white Caucasian guys, and they know nothing about Chinese market. But their therapy is well proven in this market for over 5 years. It's already the gold standard, and the surgeons know. But the patients here in China, tens of thousands of them, maybe 100,000 of them, they're dying. They have no effective therapy at all, just waiting here and know there's something working well in Japan, in Europe, in the US. So this partnership, is $15 million upfront, and Novocure will have like 10% of the sales revenue here in China. The first year, last year, they already achieved $4.5 million sales here. And more important than that, they saved hundreds of people's lives. So I know, George, you invested on some similar products here in China, but I would say this is definitely a win-win deal. And I would love to see more deals like that will take place here. And I had been to Netherlands 5 years ago when I worked for Medtronic. I love the city of Amsterdam and Rotterdam. I think your people, you speak fluent English, very straightforward, high efficient. So I think definitely, I think that would be a very good communication system between Dutch and Chinese. So I do encourage entrepreneurs who did have innovative, high quality, and real clinical needs products come to China and look for opportunities to work with Chinese, either listed companies or private companies. But in the last 2 years, you cannot imagine how fast has changed in this industry, because the starboard of Asia in mainland China and the Hong Kong market already changed its listing rules as well. So over 30 Chinese medical device companies will become listed. That means they have the capability to continuously raising money in the secondary market, and it's going to give them more credibility in the international community to convince their future partners to either sell or license their technology to them. So they're going to be more good quality candidates for buyout deals. I think this is a turning point for Chinese medical device industry. I really look forward to see more changes happening.
May I add some colors on the joint venture pathway? So actually, Fosun Pharma has been collaborating with overseas company for many years, and we have set several very successful joint venture. Though I think you may know that Fosun Pharma has been collaborating with Intuitive Surgical for over 15 years, and we set up joint venture in the year 2017 in Shanghai to do the distribution and also the domestic manufacture. So I think for the SME from overseas, joint venture is a very good choice. From the manufacturer side, if you can find a very strong domestic partner, they can help you to find a very stable supply chain. This is very important. And from the registration side, like Fosun, we have very strong RA team, so we can help the overseas companies to get the NFIA approval in the shortest way. And also in the commercial side, for a lot of innovative medical device, there is no charging code in China. So you cannot make this product as a commercial product. That means you cannot find a way for the sustainable charging if you don't have the charging code. It's something related to the government issues, so you need a strong local partner. I think maybe Fosun Pharma is a very good choice.
Thank you very much. I like that. You don't like the Dutch, very direct, pragmatic. That's very good. We are culturally very connected. That's really good. Talking about connection and communication, because unfortunately, this really brings us to a close of this workshop. There was one of the questions which was about communication and staying connected. If the Dutch companies who are online can be connected through WeChat with all the panelists and the speakers, the answer is yes, of course. Thank you very much. I couldn't imagine another answer. And maybe just really for the takeaway, because we are doing this workshop now offline and online, what for you is really the event not to be missed in China on medical devices, and that the Dutch should really come over to attend? Yes.
Definitely, I would say this one. It's twice a year, and of course, you can meet everyone. And actually, it's not just an exhibition for the industry; it's also a networking party. So I had met lots of my former colleagues and friends in this area. So I do recommend you to come to this one. What else?
Yeah, go through your embassy. I think they will organize good event. I think they are a good channel for you to navigate, especially in China. And for us, we also organize this kind of, networking event, and find your friends and connection in China. I think that will be also helpful for you to get to know people here. And I think today's panel is a good event. So make sure you get us WeChat, post it online.
So the direct way is you can go to embassy, and I think there's another pathway. It's that you should find a very reliable law firm or a financial advisor firm that they can help you to find the right partner in China.
Thank you very much. That closes this part of the program with the panelists. Please a warm hand of applause for our panelists. That unfortunately also brings us to the end of the second part of this workshop. We could have gone on for hours, obviously, but I think we have had an excellent overview on the dynamics of medical devices in China and in the Netherlands. It was very good to see in both countries a really good overview of the clusters to get a further insight in regulations, the regulatory aspect, and what is changing and how that facilitates, or maybe sometimes also make it a little bit more complex, but at the same time facilitating cooperation in the field of medical devices. The call for do your homework, I like that very much, and it was very good to see that throughout, both here in the audience and the panelists and the speakers are there to provide support also in having that homework done. A lot of investors who were interested in reaching out to the Dutch companies. We will be sharing the PowerPoint presentations because all experts agreed that we would share the PowerPoint presentations. In a moment we will all be connected on WeChat, and to finalize just reminding everybody again that we at the embassy, but also here at the Consulate General in Shanghai, remain at everybody's disposal, also our panelists and our experts, in taking the next step together. Thank you very much. Have a very nice weekend and see you soon.